Rain whispered against the windows of a black Mercedes crawling through the city's glistening streets. The night was painted in silver reflections, headlights bending through puddles, neon signs bleeding across wet asphalt, and the faint hum of life echoing through a lonely world. Inside the car, Ethan Carter, 29 years old, sat in silence. His tailored suit, his luxury watch, his empire of companies, all of it felt like armor over a hollow chest. On paper, Ethan had everything: power, fame, the kind of money that made people listen before he even spoke. But inside, he was broken. 7 years ago, the world he knew had collapsed when his high school sweetheart Lily died giving birth. Doctors said the baby didn't survive either. He buried his heart that day, and since then, nothing had meaning. As the rain intensified, Ethan's driver slowed near a dimly lit bus stop. A flicker of movement caught Ethan's attention. He turned his gaze, and time seemed to stop. There, beneath a flickering streetlight, stood a little girl, maybe 6 years old, barefoot, her tiny frame trembling under the cold drizzle. She clutched a newborn baby against her chest, shielding it with a thin, torn blanket. Her small lips moved, whispering something soft, something protective. Ethan leaned forward. "Stop the car," the driver hesitated. "Sir, it's pouring." "Stop, now." The door opened with a low click, and the sound of rain swallowed him whole. Cold droplets hit his hair and shoulders as he stepped into the night. The world around him blurred, except for that small child standing alone. She looked up, startled, her blue eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "Please, sir, my mommy's sick. She won't wake up." Ethan's heart clenched. Something inside him, something buried for years, stirred violently. He knelt to her level, the rain dripping from his face. "Where is she, sweetheart?" The girl pointed toward a narrow alley beside the bus stop. Her little hand trembled as she said, "There, please help her, sir." "I don't know what to do." Ethan followed her, his polished shoes splashing through muddy water. The alley was dark and narrow, lit only by the distant city glow. At the end, beside a half-broken stroller, a woman lay unconscious, pale as porcelain, soaked from the rain. And then, Ethan froze. The woman's face, though older, thinner, marked by hardship, struck him like a lightning bolt through the chest. Her features, her soft jawline, her lips, they were hauntingly familiar. He took a step closer, his voice trembling. "Miss? Can you hear me?" No response. The little girl kneeled beside her mother, sobbing quietly. "She's been sick for days. I tried to find help, but nobody stopped." Ethan's hand shook as he brushed the woman's wet hair away from her face. And that's when he saw it, a small silver heart-shaped pendant around her neck. His breath caught. That necklace. He had given it to Lily on her 17th birthday. He could still remember that moment, the way she laughed, the way she said she'd never take it off. The world around him spun. It can't be." He whispered her name, barely audible over the storm. "Lily!" Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the alley for a split second. The resemblance was undeniable. The same eyes, the same pendant, even the faint scar near her collarbone, the one she got on their first road trip. His knees hit the wet ground beside her as emotion surged through him. The little girl clutched his arm. "Please, sir, don't let my mommy die." Ethan turned to her, his voice cracking. "Sweetheart, what's your name?" "Emma," she whispered. "And my baby brother's name is Noah." Those names. Ethan's heart nearly stopped. Emma and Noah, the same names Lily once said she wanted to give their children. His mind spiraled. Could this be? No, it wasn't possible. Lily was gone. The hospital said there were no survivors. But then, why was this woman wearing the necklace he'd given? Why did her daughter bear the same name Lily had once chosen? Ethan's breathing grew heavy, his pulse racing as memories collided with the present. The smell of rain, the echo of Lily's laughter, the way she'd smiled the last time he saw her. Everything came rushing back like a flood he couldn't contain. He shouted toward the car, "Call an ambulance!" "Now!" The driver, startled, grabbed his phone as Ethan lifted the woman's frail body into his arms. She was cold, her pulse faint. Her lips moved weakly and barely a whisper. Ethan leaned closer, trying to hear her over the pounding rain, and then she whispered a name. "Ethan." The world stopped. His entire body went numb. He looked down at her pale face, his voice breaking. "Lily, is it really you?" Her eyelids fluttered, but she didn't respond. The girl cried harder, clutching her mother's hand. Ethan's voice trembled as he shouted to the driver again. "Hurry, please!" Sirens echoed faintly in the distance, but Ethan barely noticed. His mind was reeling, trapped between disbelief and hope. Could fate be cruel enough to take her once, and then bring her back like this? He looked at the girl again, her messy hair, her frightened blue eyes, her trembling lips, and something inside him shattered. Because now, deep down, he knew. He wasn't just looking at a stranger's child. He was looking at his daughter. The rain poured harder, washing away the city's noise until all that remained was the sound of Ethan's voice. Soft, trembling, almost broken. "Lily, I'm here. I'm not losing you again." As lightning split the sky, the camera would slowly pull back. Ethan cradling Lily in his arms, the little girl beside him crying, unaware that the man holding her mother was the father she never knew. And in that frozen moment of rain, pain, and revelation, everything changed. Screen fades to black. His whisper echoes through the silence. "Lily, if you believe that one act of kindness can change everything, take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs hope." The night outside the hospital was painted with rain, soft, relentless, whispering against the glass like a memory that refused to fade. Inside, fluorescent lights flickered weakly over white walls as nurses rushed through narrow hallways, the sound of squeaking shoes echoing off sterile tiles. Somewhere down that corridor, behind a curtain of chaos and beeping monitors, Ethan Carter stood frozen, drenched, trembling, and unable to breathe. On the hospital bed lay Lily, pale and motionless, her chest rising faintly under the thin blanket. Her skin glistened with raindrops and sweat. Doctors moved around her in urgency, their voices blurring into static. Ethan could hear them, but none of it made sense. Every second felt like an eternity suspended between past and present. In the corner, the little girl clung to his coat, her face red and wet with tears, her small hands gripping the expensive fabric like it was her lifeline. Beside her, the newborn baby slept in a plastic crib, tiny chest rising and falling in peaceful rhythm, unaware of the storm swirling around him. A nurse crouched beside the girl, her voice gentle. "Sweetheart, what's your mother's name?" The child sniffled, her voice trembling but clear enough to pierce through the noise. "Her name is Lily Carter, and this is my baby brother Noah." The room fell silent. The name hung in the air like thunder, crashing through Ethan's chest. His lips parted, but no sound came. Lily Carter, the last name, his name. For a split second, his world tilted. The monitors beeped somewhere far away. The lights dimmed into a blur, and all he could hear was the echo of her laughter from years ago. Her voice saying she'd love him forever. Ethan stumbled backward, his knees giving out beneath him. His hand slammed against the wall as he gasped for air. "Lily Carter," he repeated, his voice cracking, disbelief flooding his every word. The nurse reached for him, alarmed. "Sir, are you okay?" But Ethan couldn't answer. His body trembled, his heart pounding so violently it hurt. His vision blurred with tears that wouldn't stop. "That's my last name," he choked out. She's my Lily." The nurse froze, realization dawning on her face. In that instant, everything unraveled. The years of silence, the unanswered questions, the lie that had stolen his future. The hospital's cold walls seemed to close in as the truth struck him like lightning. Lily never died. Her family. They had lied. Ashamed of her pregnancy, they'd hidden her away. They'd told him she was gone, buried under a false report, cutting him off from the life they were supposed to share. And this little girl, this fragile, brave soul standing before him, she wasn't just anyone's child. She was his daughter. The tears came harder now, years of buried grief breaking loose. Ethan covered his face with his hands as he sank to the floor beside the hospital bed. The nurse knelt beside him, whispering softly, but he barely heard her. His world had shattered. And yet, for the first time, it was finally real again. Hours slipped by like minutes. The chaos calmed. The rain outside began to fade. It was almost dawn when Lily's eyes fluttered open. For a long moment she stared at the ceiling, disoriented, her breathing weak. Then she turned her head and froze. Ethan stood there. The same eyes, the same face, Older, wearier, but filled with a heartbreak she instantly recognized. Neither of them spoke. The silence between them carried every word they'd never said. Ethan stepped closer, voice trembling. "They told me you were gone, Lily. That you and the baby didn't make it." Her lips quivered, a tear slipping down her cheek. "They made me leave, Ethan. My parents said you'd moved on, that you didn't want us. I had no choice." He reached for her hand, hesitant, afraid she might vanish again if he blinked. "I never stopped looking. I tried for months, years. You were my whole world." Her tears fell freely now. "I thought you hated me." He shook his head slowly. "No, Lily, I could never." Their fingers intertwined, fragile and trembling, a bridge between two lifetimes of pain. And then, from the corner of the room came a small, sleepy voice. "Mommy." The little girl, Grace, stood clutching a teddy bear the nurse had given her. She looked up at Ethan, eyes glistening. "Is he going to take us home now?" Ethan's heart nearly broke. He crouched to her level, wiping a tear from her cheek. "Yes," he whispered. "I'm never letting you or your mommy go again." Lily's sob turned into a soft laugh, the kind of laugh that sounded like forgiveness. She looked at him through tears. "I never stopped loving you, Ethan." He leaned closer, his forehead resting against hers. "And I never will." The baby stirred softly in the crib beside them, tiny fingers curling as if reaching for the future. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. Sunlight crept through the blinds, spilling gold across the room, washing away the cold shadows of the night. Moments later, Ethan walked out of the hospital doors. Lily, pale but smiling, followed close behind, carrying baby Noah in her arms. Little Grace skipped beside them, holding Ethan's hand tightly. The morning air smelled of wet earth and new beginnings. Cars passed by, puddles shimmered, and for the first time in years, Ethan Carter smiled, not the polite, practiced smile of a billionaire, but one of peace, of love rediscovered. As the camera slowly panned out, the family disappeared into the soft morning glow. A man once broken, now whole again. The narrator's voice fades in, gentle and reflective. Sometimes the people we lose aren't gone forever. Sometimes fate brings them back, not to remind us of what we lost, but to show us what was never truly gone. Because love never dies. What would you do if fate gave you a second chance at love and family? Tell us in the comments. Because sometimes miracles come disguised as strangers.